Welcome everyone and happy International Women's Day. My name is Helen Hogben, I'm a barrister and I'm the Equality and Diversity Officer at Trinity Chambers. And I'm delighted today to be joined by my good friend and colleague Oluwapelumi Amanda Adeola, who is a solicitor and a partner at BHP Law. Welcome, Amanda.
Thank you so much, Helen. Thank you for having me.
We were just talking, weren't we, a moment ago about how do we create an environment in the legal profession where women can really thrive? And I suppose before we answer that question, do you think we have a profession at the moment where women are thriving?
Yes, we do. We have a lot of women that are thriving in the legal profession, especially in our region as well. We have some incredible role models like, Her Honour Judge Matthews KC, Caroline Goodwin KC, Sally Penny KC, MBE, so many people, but unfortunately it isn't enough. And a lot more needs to be done to be able to support women in the legal profession.
Yeah. And certainly the data nationally suggests that on average women aren't thriving as well as men, doesn't it? What's the picture like in solicitors' firms, for example?
The last report that was provided by the Law Society in 2019 shows that women solicitors earned on average 20% less than men. That is a pretty appalling stats, and we really need to be working towards changing that.
And really the picture is very similar at the bar. The Bar Council published a report at the end of 2021 in relation to barrister earnings by sex and practice area. And what that told us was, with the exception of family law children, where women slightly out-earned men to the tune of about 4%, across every other practice area, men significantly out-earned women. Arguably the most concerning feature of the report was that across the 20-year period, the gap between men and women's earnings was actually widening rather than getting better. So, for example, of commercial and financial work, in the year 2000, the gap was around 49%. But by the time we got to 2021, the gap was closer to 60%. And one of the key takeouts from that report was that across the last 20 years, women have accounted for half of all pupils. And so it really begs the rather difficult question of why is it still the same situation that women are not being retained at the bar and that men continue to out-earn women? So if we think about retention, first of all, Amanda, what do you think is causing more women to leave the legal profession?
I would say one of the key factors is perhaps the lack of representation. Women make up a small minority of people in leadership positions. And for those who are coming into the legal profession, they need to see a lot more women in that position so that they too know that they have those goals to be able to attain and to be in the same positions. So thinking about more women in the judiciary, for example, more women being partners of law firms, more women being heads of chambers. Those are the things that we need to be working on as organizations to make sure that those coming behind us know that these goals are achievable, because they are women who are, working mothers, who are, whether they don't want to be parents, who are thriving, who are doing it and are able to do it, are capable of doing it, rather than being pushed aside for other people.
And I think that's important, isn't it, having women in those leadership positions? You've already mentioned the example of Her Honour Judge Matthews KC, but we know across the North Eastern Circuit there are a number of women taking on those leadership roles. Caroline Goodwin KC, for example, became chair of the Criminal Bar Association. Colette Price at Fountain Chambers became the first female head of chambers in the Chamber's history. So it's great to see women getting there and achieving those positions.
Just add, though, that one of the things that's significant about that is that it shouldn't take so long for these things to happen. It should be ordinarily what is the norm in terms of general career progression. If you want to be head of chambers and you have those ambitions, you should be supported to be able to do that. If you want to be a partner and you want to be a director, regardless of whether you go off on maternity leave or you take a sabbatical, you should be supported and given the tools that you need to support you to be able to achieve those goals.
Yeah, and I think that's in part where allies come in, isn't it? So male colleagues within the profession who are perhaps in leadership roles, supporting and mentoring women who want to get there as well.
That's right. It's making sure that you are standing shoulder to shoulder with women and not seeing them as second-class citizens, seeing that there are opportunities out there that women can fill and you calling their names in places they need to be called. So an example recently, I was asked by a male colleague to do something that even I wondered, oh my God, I can't believe that you actually thought about me for that. But the fact that they've thought about me and they've put me in that position, that shows what an ally can do for you, creating opportunities for you. So it's not just women supporting women, but it's men acting as allies to make sure that women are able to achieve those goals as well.
I suppose one of the biggest challenges for all lawyers, whether they're men or women, is this is a really difficult profession at times. It often requires long hours. And how do we all manage to achieve a work-life balance, particularly if we've got a family or we've got other commitments?
It's not an easy thing to do, but recognizing that people have lives outside of work is very important to be able to create that parity and to create that equity in the workplace. So if your colleague has to leave work early because they have to collect their children, it shouldn't be a bar to their progression. If they're having to be off a lot because they have, children who are ill, etc., it shouldn't be a bar to their progression. Again, is being there to support people through those times. Working as well as being a parent, it's not easy. There's so many factors that affect you. You're having to think, on your feet about juggling activities as well as work, etc. And you need to be able to do that in an environment where you don't feel that you're being judged and that because you have to leave early and can't attend a networking event first thing in the morning, that you're going to be penalised for it.
I suppose we need to be more inventive, don't we, about the type of networking events that, whether it's in a law firm or at a chambers, that we take part in, perhaps moving away from simply reliance on drinks after work or early morning network events and think of other opportunities.
Absolutely. There's so many different steps that you can take to make sure that people know that your events are inclusive. So some organizations have breakfast events that's like at 8 o'clock, for argument's sake. You could turn that to a 10 o'clock breakfast meeting because you do know that there are parents who have to drop their children off at school or nursery, etc., so that they can be there. You don't want to have an event that is exclusive to people who can be there. If you want it to be inclusive so that more people can come and more women can attend, then you need to reflect on the timing of your event, when it ends, and various points like that.
Yeah, and I suppose there are also things that we can all do as women lawyers to increase our own networks. So you've mentioned Sally Penny, Women in Law, a group such as that, the Female Lawyers Club, and other areas where women can gather together and share experiences and support each other.
Absolutely. And I think employers as well need to consider, which we all started to do as a result of the lockdown, and a lot of organizations have carried on with flexible working, hybrid working, agile working. Those are things that can support your employees who are women as well as men. Yeah. If you've got caring responsibilities, it means that you can work your time within the day at any time that you want to be able to, make sure that you're looking after your family, yourself, as well as your clients or colleagues, etc.
I suppose one of the key challenges in addressing the gender pay gap is how we gather data and understand what the picture looks like within our own businesses, isn't it?
That's right. The Bar Council as well as the Law Society are taking active steps already by collating this data to be able to share across the profession so that we all have information to go with to see where the gap is, and allowing all of us to look within our organisations as to whether or not we are, falling within the, part of the issue and how we can resolve that to be able to tighten that gap so that it's not as wide as it is. And active steps are being taken, but I feel that organisations need to do a bit more. You need to look within your organisations. If you know that there is a gap, what are you doing to fix it? It's not about you saying we have policies that we treat everybody the same, we're committed to equality and diversity.
Absolutely.
Are you actually fully committed that if you notice that somebody is not being paid enough, are you doing something to address that? Yeah. If you feel that somebody needs to be promoted, are you helping them to get to the next stage? What are you doing to actually create opportunities for people within your organization to be able to tighten that gap? And that's what that data is going to help both chambers and law firms to do. If people and, people in leadership position take the lead on that.
Yeah, and I suppose going back to the central theme of International Women's Day this year, embracing equity, it couldn't be more important in the context of pay, could it? In terms of enabling women to have a fulfilling career and a career where they feel that being properly and fairly rewarded. Certainly in our own chambers, I can say that we are working very hard to put in place effective processes to gather the data, to understand the data, and then to take positive steps to try and address any disparities. And in developing those processes and systems, that is going to amount to and become a really effective practice management tool, not just for women, but for everyone in chambers, to understand how they're doing, how they're progressing, and what steps that they can take to increase their earnings and to take on more rewarding and fulfilling work. So Amanda, the theme we've discussed of International Women's Day this year is Embrace Equity. What does that mean for you?
Embracing equity is a powerful, powerful statement and a powerful theme for this year. For me, as a Black lawyer in the legal profession, embracing equity means that I can be myself at work. Mm-hmm. I shouldn't be worrying about, my earnings. I should be able to be promoted because I've worked hard. I should be treated fairly and not have to separate being a parent from my working life. It's all part of me. I should be able to bring my whole self, whichever part I choose to bring that whole self to work without worrying that it will stunt my career growth or it will have an impact on my progression. And that's what embracing equity means to me. No woman should have to worry about those things. No woman should have to choose between being a parent and having a career. And certainly it is something that is significant and needs to change moving forward.
And that's the environment we want to create for everyone, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Well, thanks very much, Amanda. And wherever you are, I hope you're enjoying International Women's Day. Thanks very much for listening.